Hi, this is Lori from the Pink Girly channel, and today my goal is to finish this little cutie pie that I started really quite some time ago. This is the piece of ceramic. They call it ceramic bisque. That's after it's poured and unmolded and sanded, cleaned up the seams. They fire it in a kiln, and it's all white, like down in there. So this is the first part that I did. I will link my previous video in my description box, but it's been a little while and I keep moving her around my studio thinking, I've got to finish you, I've got to finish you. So today's the day. Um, so I'm going to use the dry brushing technique for most of uh, finishing her off, and then I'm going to do a little bit of detail work. So I've just pulled out some acrylic paints. I'll show you those as we work through the video here. And then I've pulled out my dry brushes, which are really not in great shape. Now, this set is fairly new to me, although it doesn't look new, but they're huge. They're really too big for this project. So if I use any of these, I'll tell you, and they're like really long handled, which, I really didn't want, but they have the kind of bristles that I like. So I got those, and these I got not too terribly long ago, but I'll tell you what they are as we go through. So I've just pulled out some paints that work with this. I'm just using a little bubble tray today to put my paint in. I've got my paper towel, which I'm going to work my brush on to do the dry brushing technique, and we'll just see how it goes. Now, in the past, most of the pieces that I dry brush, which is using a dry brush, it's exactly as it seems, using a dry brush that's not been put in water, tip it in your paint, you work most of the color off of your brush, and you're just putting a light film of paint over top of the raised areas of whatever piece you're working on. And you could do this on wood, if you have a rough piece of wood. It doesn't have to be ceramic, but I personally mostly use it as ceramic because that's, what I learned on. And generally, in the past, I would just take a lighter color on these flower petals and just hit the little edges and highlight them. But I thought I'd like to try maybe something deeper down towards the center of the flower and then do lighter on the outside edges. So in other words, kind of shading with the dry brushing technique. I don't think I've ever done that before. So I'm going to try it, but I'm going to try it on the back of the flower in case it doesn't go so well. All right, so that's tip number one. And I think I'd like to put some kind of a sparkle, shimmery type of dry brushing around her little face here on that dark spot, which to me, this is a sunflower. So I want to use smaller brushes because I want to have control and not get paint where I don't want it, which is easy to do when you're dry brushing. So this brush here is called Chung King. I don't know if my camera is going to focus enough for you to see that. Chungking, all one word. Zen, maybe, or Zem, Zem. This is a number 4. And I like a bristle brush, but that's not real stiff. That has a little flexibility. So it's a little bit of an oxymoron. Flexible but stiff. And this, of course, is a round. So sometimes this type of brush is a little hard to find. I've got some old ones from my ceramic days years ago that, I just can't seem to get rid of. But I want a really small brush for in there. So I think I'm going to let the brown go. I think I'm going to start with the back of the flower. So for that, I picked out, I'm going to use Americana Deco Art. This is Georgia Clay. I'm going to use the deeper color towards what this is I'm calling the stem, would be the stem, or the, well, it's not really the stem, I guess. It's like, the pod part of the flower. Do this maybe a little darker back here because sometimes the back of the flower is a little darker. And then I'm going to switch out to, I think, this folk art color, which is tangerine. Tangerine. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this Georgia clay out of my little bubble tray. And we're just going to jump in. Haven't been doing any ceramics for a little while. If you're new to my channel, I had 2 channels. I'm going to close the other one down as soon as I figure that out. And moving everything over to this channel, my Paint Girly channel. Okay, so I put some paint on the end of my brush, which was not in any water. I'm taking off most of the color, and I'm going to start dry brushing. Now trying to hold her. So I'm just doing a light, kind of a sweeping motion just across those petals. And I'm just catching the raised area. And I'm just drying my dry brush. Now, I don't know how well you can see that. I think I'm going to go a little deeper on the back here because it's the back of the flower. I don't want to scratch her little face. See, she's not, I haven't sealed this. Now, my paint was a little heavier. There's definitely a learning curve on how to load your brush. Now, in most cases, most of you will not have this same piece that I have to work on. Although I did buy this online, I don't remember the people I bought it from. But if you put in something like a sunflower baby, you probably will find it if you're interested in this. So I'm going to add a little more. Now, once you start dry brushing and you see you're not getting any color, you just want to load some more on your brush. Now I'm going to go a little darker in here where it's close to her body. Now that looks pretty good so far. Now before I want to come back on and put maybe a second coat there, I want to make sure that dries. But I'm liking how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and do the front. So let's flip her around. Before I put another color on my brush, I'm just going to flip her around. I'm going to do the same thing. Now, I don't have my camera too far down, but I also don't have it too far up. So now I'm trying to really scrub in and get next to that dark area. I don't want any bright yellow showing through. I want it to look like, it's all connected. And see, I'm just brushing up. And you can do different strokes. Normally you want to go across the pattern of the detail. But see, like on some of these, I might want to just bring up a little more color up on the edges of the petals. Or I might want to do the center a little bit more. So it's up to you. This is where you can kind of spread your wings and do your own thing. Make your piece your own. I'm sure you have some good ideas of your own. Now I'm calling this shading with dry brushing because I'm going to come and put some brighter color there on the tips. And hopefully, this looks like it's being shaded around, but you see where you can see that little brightness there and towards that dark brown. I might try to get in there a little bit better. Now it's better if you're new at this to take out most of the paint out of your brush, because dry brushing is really just layering thin films of paint over a detailed area. That, and by detailed I mean has a lot of texture, I guess you could say texture. Okay, I'm going to bring a little bit down here. So it looks pretty good. Now you may not want a real definite line, so you just go back in and brush over that and soften up those edges. All right. Now I'm going to add a little bit more on the back here. This is dries fairly quickly. It's just a thin coat, and of course acrylic paint dries quickly for the most part anyway. So I'm just going to deepen this. So of course it's her little hat, but she's supposed to look like a little flower. And I'm trying not to get any on my green that I painted before. Now, I'm going to use this tangerine. Now, Folk Art is a little thicker paint, and people use the Folk Art brand, I think, quite a bit when they're doing some one-stroke painting. When you're trying to do, petals, and Donna Dewberry is known for one-stroke painting, but certainly others do it as well. So this is a lot thicker. But I'm going to put some of this on, and before I get it real bright, I'm going to get that mixture between the dark and the light, and kind of like a medium tone. So I want to take advantage of that and kind of use that coming up from the dark area. And I think the back of the flower, I want to use a little mixture of that. Not totally light, because it is the back of the flower. So I want that to be a little different. Now, you know what? This is my right as an artist, right? You might not want to do that, and that's fine. You do what you'd like. But you can start to see. Now it's still a little wet, see? And what I'm doing is I'm just blending these two colors on my brush, taking off the excess on my paper towel. And I think it looks cute. When you just get it how you want it, and then you say, all right, I'm done. I hope you can see that. See, when I rewatch my video, I'll be able to tell. So now we have the dark. Now I'm going to do the combo. And I'm just going to come right underneath where I was and just kind of put a little bit of that combination color. Oops, sorry, I was a little out of screen there. So I'm just trying to blend this so that it's not a big shock from the center of those petals out to the tips. Just a little bit. It's very subtle. Now, like I've told you in the past, you start with your dark color and then you go to your light color. So now I'm going to clean, no water involved, rub most of this out, and I'm going to just use that bright color. until I get it where that's mostly what's in my brush. I don't see any more of that dark color. And now I'm going to go and just come on the tips and brighten this up. Now I'm not going to do the back, so I want the back to be darker. You can kind of brush over top of what you've already put down. You just want to make sure that that's dry, which it is. Now that looks a lot different than when we started, right? My little paint crumbles are all getting all over the place. Now when you come down here on a piece like this and you're near her flesh or you're near another color, you just want to take your time. It's not a tragedy if you get some on the other area, but you might like it better if you don't. Now, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, I might want this to be a little bit brighter. A little bit brighter still. So in order to do that, I'm going to add some cadmium yellow to my tangerine. Now, see where it's shimmery? That's because it hasn't dried yet. All right. So now I'm going to take my Americana Deco Art cadmium yellow. Make sure you shake them very well. I'm going to put a little bit more out in my little bubble tray here. It's probably too much. And I'm just going to grab that on the tip of my brush and work it through. And as I continue to work it through, it's going to brighten up a little bit. Now I could add white too, but I'm not ready to do that. I don't know that I need to do that. So you can see as I work this through my paper towel. Now you can use a paper bag, regular paper. It doesn't have to be a paper towel. Whatever you got. Whatever you got. Now it's getting brighter, which is good. Now I'm going to tip my edges. Can you see the difference? Coming under here. And then as you feel like your brush is running out of color, you don't see any change, you just want to load a little bit more on. And I'm just kind of grabbing her nose here to hold her. I'm just really using light strokes. Probably looks a little heavier than what I am. All right. Now let's get a little white just to see. Put a little white out. White out. Now, of course, I've got some of that yellow in my brush. So when I add the white, it really gets almost like a lemon yellow. I don't think I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to just hit certain areas. So I don't want it totally. Okay, looks cool, right? Once you start doing this, it's really kind of hard to stop. I got to tell you, kind of hard to stop. So that's really it for the flower. I mean, I could do more back here if I wanted to, for sure. I don't think it really needs it. but you can do whatever. Now I want to do some dry brushing on that dark space. Now, once you're done with your brush, then you put it in the water. You don't want to leave that paint dry on there because that'll ruin your brush. So let's see here. I've got this old, this is my smallest one, it looks like. Gosh, see, this doesn't even have a label on it anymore. I'm very hard on my brushes, and I do things to my brushes that I would not tell you to do. Like, I just leave them sit in water. It's not good. You should put them in the water. When you're done your project, go wash your brushes. I don't always do that. So don't do what I do what I say. All right, this is also a Deco Art color. Crafters acrylic. I have no idea what the difference is. But this one is called Iced Espresso. I found this on a clearance rack. It's really a cool color. Not sure how well that's going to show up on that little brown section around her face, but we're going to give it a go. So I'm going to put out a little bit of this, and it's just got a little bit of a shimmer to it, which I'm not sure you'll see. And this brush is longer, but see, it's more narrow. So I'm hoping I can get in here and dry brush without getting that on her skin. Now, I thought about putting some tape or some washi tape or something on there to protect her skin, but this piece isn't sealed yet because I'm still painting it. So I didn't want to risk pulling paint off of her face. So I'm not going that route. So all I'm doing is just very lightly going to put a little bit of this, just dry brushing it. It's the same technique. There's a little bit of texture on that area around her face, like it would be the seed pods of a sunflower. And so I'm just doing a little bit. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to do there. Now, I was thinking about, now I'm going to put this in the water because I'm finished with that brown. I'm going to do some detail work, some dots, and maybe I might put a little flower on her bum. But then I was thinking, what about some shading? Now, I don't know if I want to dry brush or float some color, and I don't know that I really need it around there. I didn't pull out a dark green. I kind of like my Gamma green, but that's an old color, and I'm not sure anybody can find that anymore. This is an avocado, which sometimes avocado and light avocado are hard to find, so I don't think you're going to see too much if I shade with that. So I think, I'm just going to let it go, and I'm just going to decorate. So I'm going to put some dots on her little shoes, and I'm going to put some dots around this part of her hat, and then I think I'm going to put a little flower on her bum. All right. So I just pulled out a couple of dotting tools. Now I have these because I've had them for years and I use them for a variety of things. And this came in a set. I think they were Martha Stewart many, many years ago. I think there's like 5 in this set. But I pulled out these that it has a really small dot and then just different sizes. But if you don't have something like this, you can use the end of a paintbrush. You can use a toothpick. If you have a pen that doesn't have ink in it anymore, you could use the tip of the pen. And believe it or not, some people use knitting needles or crochet hook. Sometimes these crochet hooks have a point at the bottom. So whatever you might have handy, just test it first on a piece of paper to see what kind of a dot it'll make for you. And then you want to remember that as you put your tool, whatever you're using, in paint and you make your dot, To make the same size dot, you want to reapply each time you make a dot. And the other thing is to, every once in a while, clean off your tip because that paint builds up. And as that builds up, your dot's going to get bigger. All right. So I'm going to use a larger dot. I'm going to use white. So I'm going to add a little more white to my little bubble palette here. And this is not going to be anything too difficult. It's just you push down your tool and lift up. So, and you know, this dot here is not going to make a huge dot. It's going to be a little smaller than what it actually looks. But I'm just going to go around the rim of her hat. I'm going to brace my finger, I think, you know, to put the dot. And all I'm going to do is going to load it with paint and press down and lift up. Now, if you don't, it's better, I think, to have maybe not a puddle of paint. Like, move your paint out so it's just like kind of a thin layer. Because if you put it down in the puddle, it's hard to gauge how much paint you have on your dot. So if I want my dots to be the same size, I have to reapply every time. All right, so I'm just coming around her hat like that. And then I think I'm going to use a smaller one. And then I'm going to come back and go in between those. You could do green on green. You don't have to really put anything. But I wanted to show how to do some detailed stuff on this little piece. All right. I mean, that looks cute, right? Now remember, these are little puddles of paint, so you don't want to stick your finger in it. Now I'm going to go back to the bigger daughter and come around the rest of her hat. Now, if you make a mistake, if you get after it right away, you can generally wipe this off. But once acrylic paint dries, all bets are off. And you just have to remember what size dot you're using. I'm kind of going in between. That one got off a little bit. But you know what? It's not rocket science. It's art. And you just do whatever you want. I'm going to come back and do one more row with the smaller tip on this one. You see, that one didn't get so good, so I'm going to reload and go in between as best I can. Now, once this dries, if that's, say this is a little too bright for you and you don't really like it, once it dries, you can come back with maybe some green on your paintbrush, a dry brush, and dry brush over it and knock back the brightness of that white. And all we got are little dots, but that just jazzed up her hat a little bit. See how cute that looks? It's cute. Now, you could come around to the front and put little dots around the flower as well. I'm not going to do that on this one. I think I want to spatter on the petals. Now that could be a little bit fiddly, especially since I was going to dot her socks. I'm just trying to think what I really want to do here. Let's see what it looks like if we see. It's going to take a little bit for those to dry. I didn't think about that part of the video. I wonder what it'll look like if I take some of my light avocado. So it's a couple shades, lighter than that green. And I've got the white. And I wonder if I dip my daughter in both colors, how that'll look. Let's give that a try. Now, rather than getting frustrated and trying to open up these paint bottles, I use an X-Acto knife to just slice that little bit of film that's on there. But if you do that, please be careful. Don't cut your finger. But that kind of stuff can make you crazy trying to open some of these containers. All right, let's see if I shook that enough. All right, now her feet are little, so this really may not look like much. And I was just thinking about putting dots everywhere, because when she sits down, you're going to see this part of her feet, her socks. You can't really tell that way, but see, when she sits down, you're going to see mostly this part, right? So I was thinking I'd really like to use, well, this is kind of, let's try this one. This is not super small. You probably can't see that. Let's see if you can see it if I do it. Let me use the bigger daughter. If I tap it in the white and then tap it in the green, see, we kind of get a mixed dot there. That was a little too heavy. And they're going to be all different. So how big can that be, right? So let's move this out so I have a thinner area of paint to tip into. And let's move some more white paint over into this area. I'm just going to put some random dots. We'll see how that goes. I'm tipping into both colors. See, so then it doesn't look as bright, which I kind of like. And I'm really just kind of putting them random. If you start dotting like this, you'll find your own way. Now, like I said, after a little while and you're using a dotter of some kind, you want to clean that off, because it starts to gather the paint, it starts to dry a little bit. And any ones that you don't like if you ever have done any mandala dotting, you can redot. You can do the redot. Now that one I tipped in the green first and then the white. You can see that one was brighter. These look like a pair of slipper socks that you buy at the Walmart. Now, it might be a little fiddly to get down in there. Let me see if I can sit her down. Just got to watch where I'm going to put my finger to brace myself. If you want your dots to be smaller, you can always, dot off, or you can graduate dots. You just load it once and just keep dotting. See, and then they get smaller. See that one? I smeared just a little bit. I'm not going to worry about it though, because she's going to sit that way. See it a little bit. Now I'm trying to finish this on this video. So I'm going to continue to dot. Then I'm going to put a little flower on her bum. Of course, I didn't pull out any brown paint, so I guess I need to get a little bit of brown paint. Trying to make the pattern similar to the other foot. That's why it's good if you do stuff like this, do it all at once. Don't leave the project sit and come back. Like if you did one foot, then do the other foot, because they'll never be the same. You want to try to get at it at the same time. And dots are pretty easy. And put some around the side. Clean off my dotter. I guess I could use that iced espresso for the center of the little flower I want to put on her bum. All right, now they're starting to dry, but I think right here I'm going to put a little flower. So for that, I pulled out a different kind of a brush. I just pulled out a soft-haired brush that you would use for acrylic paint. This is a 2/0, so it's really small and thin. Now this I do want to put in water first. So I'm going to wet my brush. And I'm going to use the dotter to make the center of my, whoops, look what I did. I forgot. I put my finger right on. This is good, so you can see what not to do. Now I just got a Q-tip cotton swab here. I put that in water and I just rubbed it very lightly to get that smeared dot that I smeared. I smeared one over here, but I think this one's probably a little too dry. Worst case scenario, now the dots are harder to cover. You could come back with your base color and paint over that and then, do a total redo. But the dots are really kind of hard to cover. Let's clean up this. I think this is all dry, but let's just clean this up a little bit. Try not to grab her where I have dots. All right, so I'm going to take that biggest dotter that I have, and I'm going to make this center, big center, to be the center of the flower I want to put on her little diaper there. And not sure where I'm going with this, but I'm just going to go. I think I'm going to blend two colors. Maybe, see, I'm putting a little bit of water in this lighter tangerine color that I had. Now that's really, this was thicker because this was the folk art paint, so it's a little thicker. So now that it's dried a little bit, I'm just adding some water. And then let's just see what this looks like. Let's sit her down a minute. And if I take a little bit of that Georgia clay, that does a pretty nice mix. I think I'm going to put my other glasses down. I think that might help me a little. Oh, yes. So I'm just going to make a little petal. Oops, I don't want that color. I'm going to tip into the darker and then pick up a little bit of the lighter. And I'm just going to make, hopefully, cute little petals. We'll see. And it kind of will match her hat. And maybe 5 or 6 petals, we'll see. So I've got her leaning down, and I've got my my pinky on her little butt there. I'm just making a little petal. And that one's a little bigger. It's okay. I'm grabbing her from underneath where that poor hole is. Doesn't have to be perfect because it's art and you're just freehanding it. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Oh, I'm kind of off camera there too. I tend to pull what I'm working in towards myself. I grab it this way. I'm going to add some more petals, but I'm going around first. Get that first row of petals in. Now I'm going to come back and put in more. These I'm going to do a little lighter, just tipping a little bit in that dark color. It's got a little bigger than I had thought it would be, but it's okay. So now I've got a little tiny flower there. And I'm going to grab a little bit of this green. This is really subtle. You're not going to see that too much. Let's see. Let's put a little brown in there. See if we can darken that up a little bit. Nah, not so much. I need a darker color. I need a darker green. I'm just going to take my baby wipe that's here and wipe that off. I think I'm going to take that bright yellow and this little daughter and put some little dots around here. That's really too small. That yellow is a little too dry. So let's get a little more paint out. So after I do this, I want to do one more thing. And that might be a little difficult because I've got so many white spots. See, like if you take your daughter, this is a bigger one, and you just keep dotting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how they get smaller because you're getting less paint on the tip of your dotting tool. I'm going to use this really fine one. Putting her little foot down. I'm putting my foot down. I kind of overlap those dots onto the circle. I can't see because I got the wrong glasses on for the screen. Oops. Let's see. Oh, geez. Sorry. Just hit the camera. Try not to get the glare. Okay. So there she is. Now, what I want to do is let that flower dry. Let's sit her there. I'm going to clean this wet paint up before I get myself in more trouble. Okay. And now I want to spatter around the petals of the flowers. I'm going to get my heat gun out for a minute and just dry that flower a little bit. So this is going to be noisy. Now I don't want to get any spatter on any of her body or on her face. I just really want it on the petals, and I'm going to use black. I could do a combo of black and white or a combo of whatever, but I'm just going to do the black. I'm going to use a long liner brush if I can find the one I want, because I didn't pull that out. I always think I have everything I need, and I usually end up forgetting something. And I have one that works really well. It kind of helps you be a little, well, this one's really thin, but oh, here we go. I think this is like a number 1 or a number 2. Let's see if I can even tell. It's got so much paint on it. This is a Royal Langnickel, and this is a Zen brush. I think they have just different styles, you know, and they give them different names. But you can see it's got a long, I think this is like a number 1 or a number 2, which is just, see, this is a 2/0. So it's like the one I did the petals with, but this one's longer. This is a liner. This is a regular round. And this is also a liner. So it's got more hairs, and they're a little longer because of the size. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in water. I'm going to find my black paint, hopefully get a little drip of black paint. This I need to put some more black paint in. And I'm going to just see if I can get some out. Heavens. That's way, way too much paint. But I couldn't feel it coming down. This is almost empty. So that's the story there. So we're just going to take what we need out of there. Now I'm going to mix it over here on my end. I don't know if I can move my camera enough where you can see a little bit. I'm going to put some black paint here. I'm going to mix it with water. I want it to be a kind of like an inky kind of consistency, not too runny. And I think she's pretty dry. I'm going to flip her. This is going to be, let's see if I can. See, I would like her to sit this way, but she's not because her little bum is. I want you to be able to see me. Well, I might have to hold her, but I want to put something to protect her face and her body. So, because I don't want to spritz and get paint on her face. for her little legs and feet here. So what I want to do is kind of just cover the areas that I don't want to get spattered. But I do want her petals to get spattered. So let's see if I can. Where's that washi tape I was going to use? Oh, that kind of works. Oh, look, and she's sitting pretty good. All right, now I need to cover her face. So I'm just going to take a little bit of paper and make like a little patch, if you will. Now just make sure you take time to do this. That's probably a little... Okay, that might do it. So I'm going to take this brush. I've got it in water. I'm taking some of my black paint. And then I'm going to test it. It's still not, it's a little too thick. If it's too watery, it won't spatter nicely. And then I'm going to just tap my brush and get those little black speckles, which I just absolutely love. And get some down underneath there. I might have gotten some on her chinny chin. Woo! And there we have it. There she is. Can you see her? That's our finished little girl. I could spatter some more over here. Let me get my brush again. I'm going to take a lot of that moisture out. And I just want to make sure it's not too runny, because if it's too runny, you won't like it. Now, some people use a toothbrush. I used to. Some people use a fan brush. I used to. But you don't have as much control as you do with a liner brush. So there she is. I finished her finally, and it only took an hour. Isn't that great? Geez, I'm so pleased that you joined me for this. Like I said, I will link the other video in my description box. I have a lot of other things on my channel, not just ceramic painting, so you might want to check those out. And if you could sub to my channel, I would be so appreciative. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to get back to you. Share this out with some friends. All of it's good. So that's it for this video. Hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, take time to be creative and enjoy the journey. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.